Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to cut through the noise and get you straight to what matters. And today, we're plunging into Adobe Inc. You know them. Huge name in creative software, digital experiences. We're looking specifically at their recent Q2 2025 earnings release. Right, so our mission for this deep dive is pretty clear. We're going to dissect Adobe's latest financials, really explore their, ambitious AI strategy, and also crucially look at how all this is landing, how it's being perceived, and sometimes critiqued out there. We've got two kind of different sources today. There's the official Q2 earnings called Transcript, Adobe's own story, and then we also have this really sharp satirical critique which offers a totally different, much more skeptical angle. It's quite interesting. So by the end of this, you'll have a much clearer picture of this tech giant's AI journey. Separating the real innovation from maybe the aspirational hype. We're hoping you get some real aha moments about the bigger tech picture and how these narratives get built. Okay, so let's start with Adobe's Q2 2025 performance, the official line.
It paints a picture of, significant financial strength. They reported record revenue, $5.87 billion. That's up 11% year over year, which, for a company Adobe size, hitting double-digit growth like that consistently, it's actually pretty impressive. Yeah, digging a bit deeper into those numbers, their GAAP earnings per share, that's the standard accounting view, hit $3.94. And the non-GAAP EPS, which kind of smooths out some one-off things, came in at $5.06. Both of those figures show solid 13% year-over-year growth. And their big digital media segment, think Photoshop, Illustrator, that pulled in $4.35 billion, growing 12%. The digital experience side wasn't far behind, $1.46 billion, up 11% year over year. And get this, record digital media annual recurring revenue, ARR, a predictable subscription money, $18.09 billion, growing 12.1% year over year. And cash flows from operations, also a Q2 record, $2.19 billion.
What's truly fascinating here, I think, is just the sheer scale and the consistency of these numbers. For a company as mature as Adobe, maintaining that double-digit growth revenue and earnings plus record ARR and cash flow, it really says a lot. It speaks volumes about the enduring demand for their whole ecosystem. It suggests a really robust underlying business. Even at this size, there's serious momentum. It looks like healthy growth.
Yeah. Healthy indeed. Okay, so moving from those strong numbers, it's pretty clear that AI is right at the core of their strategy now. It's positioned as this massive growth engine. They talk about AI as an accelerant, something that expands the creative opportunity for, all sorts of users, pros, business folks, even regular consumers. Yeah, Adobe's language is quite evocative. They talk about AI opening the content floodgates and massively expanding the number of creative assets being made and used. Their vision really seems to be about merging creativity and productivity, especially using AI for, say, business professionals or consumers who need quick, easy tools. Think conversational interfaces, speeding up storytelling, pulling insights from data easily. And they've embedded AI into, a lot of their key products, like the Acrobat AI assistant. That's all about getting more value out of documents, right?
Yeah.
Using conversation to boost productivity.
Right. Instead of just reading, you're interacting with the document's information.
Exactly. Then there's Adobe Express that uses AI to help consumers design and publish content easily. Social media posts, flyers, that kind of thing. And what's really interesting, I think, is how they're integrating Acrobat and Express. Their combined monthly active users, MAU, is now over 700 million.
700 million. Wow.
Yeah, and growing fast, over 25% year-over-year acceleration. And you can see the synergy. Like a salesperson uses the AI assistant in Acrobat to pull insights from a report, then jumps right into Express to automatically generate a slick pitch deck based on those insights.
Okay, that makes sense.
Or think about a social media manager using the AI assistant for quick market research, then using Express to whip up, TikTok videos. They actually noted an approximately 11x year-over-year jump in people using Express features inside Acrobat.
11 times. That's a huge leap in adoption for that integration.
It really is. And obviously, we have to talk about Firefly. Adobe positions this as the on-ramp to creative expression. It enhances Creative Cloud, but it's also its own thing, a destination for AI-assisted content creation, images, video, audio, vectors.
And they make a big deal about it being commercially safe, right?
Yeah. They do. We'll come back to that. They also support third-party models, Google, OpenAI, Black Forest Labs too. Then for the marketing pros, there's Adobe Gen Studio and Firefly services. The idea there is revolutionizing the content supply chain.
That phrase again, yeah.
Enabling personalized, on-brand content, but at scale. And finally, the Adobe Experience Platform, AEP, also gets an AI assistant for interacting with data using natural language, finding insights, building segments, delivering experiences.
If you connect all these dots, all these products, what Adobe seems to be building is this grand vision of, well, customer experience orchestration. They're using AI to boost creativity across the whole spectrum, from the first idea all the way through to mass production and really personalized delivery. It feels like they're trying to unify these kind of separate workflows, making complex stuff like content creation and marketing accessible, scalable for almost anyone, turning creativity into a factory maybe, but ideally an intuitive one.
And they claim it's already paying off. They mentioned AI-influenced ARR is already contributing billions, billions. And the new AI products, Acrobat AI Assistant, Firefly app, Gen Studio, that book of business is tracking ahead of their $250 million target for this fiscal year.
So the early signs, according to them, are positive.
Seems so. Okay, so how are they actually monetizing all this? They have this framework, P times Q plus V, price, quantity plus value.
P times Q plus V, okay.
Let's break down the key quantity growth. We mentioned the 700 million MAU for Acrobat and Express. That's a huge user base. Firefly app traffic up over 30% quarter over quarter. Paid subscriptions for it nearly doubled in that same time.
Doubled, okay. That's significant growth for a newer offering.
Right. And Firefly seems to be pulling in new people. First-time Adobe subscribers grew over 30% quarter over quarter, attributed partly to Firefly. They also threw out a big number, over 24 billion cumulative generations using their generative AI features.
24 billion. That's a lot of AI content being created.
It is. And on the business side, Adobe Express brought in about 8,000 new businesses in Q2. That's roughly 6x growth year over year in business adoption. Big names, too. Microsoft, ServiceNow, Workday, MLB, NFL, Premier League. They're using Express.
So the quantity lever seems to be pulling hard across users and businesses.
Exactly. Now, the P pricing. They've rolled out Creative Cloud Pro. It's a higher price tier. It basically bundles the standard Creative Cloud all apps with the Firefly app. So it's an upsell strategy, more value, higher price.
Makes sense. Combining the core offering with the new AI hotness.
Yep. And then the V value. This seems focused more on the enterprise, to how Firefly services and Gen Studio drive automation, efficiency, content creation at scale. That's the value proposition there.
And that brings us back to something you touched on, that whole commercially safe angle for Firefly. This is actually really critical, I think. Adobe is very explicit that their models are trained on content where creators opted in and are compensated.
Right, they stress that.
And why does that matter so much? Well, think about a big company. Using AI-generated stuff is tempting, it's powerful, but if there's any question mark over copyright or legal rights, it's a huge risk, a potential lawsuit down the line.
Absolutely. Nightmare scenario for legal departments.
Exactly. So Adobe's basically saying, use our AI, it's the safe bet. In a market that's frankly a bit of a minefield right now with copyright issues, that positioning as the safe harbor is a massive differentiator, especially for cautious enterprise customers. It's very strategic.
That commercial safety piece does sound like a really strong selling point. Okay, but now, let's switch gears. This is where it gets maybe a bit more spicy. We look at that satirical critique. It offers a very different take on the earnings call.
Okay, the counter narrative.
Yeah. This critique really goes after what it calls the endless corporate jargon and the, well, tech industry hyperbole around AI. It tries to contrast the grand vision Adobe paints with maybe the underlying business reality.
Right, poking holes in the buzzwords.
Pretty much. It portrays the CEO's opening remarks less like a financial report and more like a, quote, sermon from a utopian tech conference. Loaded with terms like AI as a co-pilot, the content supply chain stuff, and framing the record revenue almost as like moral validation, not just business success.
The visionary leader narrative.
Exactly. And then the CFO's part, the financial highlights. The critique depicts it as a metrics barrage. Just this rapid-fire list of numbers and acronyms, ARR, RPO, GAAP, non-GAAP, so dense it says it's almost impossible to follow. Painting it like a celebration of cash flow, as if they'd, invented a money printing machine.
Yeah, sometimes those earnings calls can feel like alphabet soup if you're not deeply immersed.
Yeah, for sure. And then the critique brings in this figure of the skeptical analyst. This analyst tries to cut through it all, asking about the actual monetization. Like how much of that record net new ARR came directly from people paying for the new AI features?
Good question.
Versus just the continued strength of the core stuff. Photoshop, Acrobat,
The bread and butter.
Right. And the critique portrays the CEO's response as, quote, evasion, pivoting away from the specific breakdown to these grander statements about AI being a tailwind to the entire business and how it's still early days in a multi-decade journey,
Deflecting with the big picture.
essentially burying the specific answer in more aspirational language.
You know, the satirical take really highlights a fascinating tension you see all the time in tech. It's this push-pull between articulating a bold, maybe even world-changing vision for the future
Yeah.
and the market's very real need for clear, detailed financial accountability, like right now. And companies often lean on the vision, right? Sometimes it's to keep that innovation halo bright, sometimes to signal long-term potential. And sometimes, look, maybe those direct monetization paths are still genuinely being figured out. It's complex.
That makes sense.
But what it tells you, I think, is that in today's tech world, a company's story about its AI future, that narrative is becoming almost as important for its perceived value as its actual current profit and loss statement. It's not just what you earned last quarter, it's about the future story you can sell and how much investors are willing to, well, bet on it.
So quite a contrast there. We've walked through Adobe's strong Q2 numbers, their very confident AI-powered vision for the future, and then we've juxtaposed that with this sharp satirical view that kind of questions the immediate tangible dollars coming from those new AI features within that grand plan.
Two very different lenses on the same event.
Yeah, exactly. And hopefully the value you've gained from this deep dive is that ability to look critically at these corporate narratives. Especially in fast-moving areas like AI, you can hopefully now better sort through the genuine innovation, the stuff gaining real market traction, and maybe the more aspirational rhetoric. So as you think about Adobe's story, here's maybe a final thought to chew on. What does this beautiful, inspiring mystery, as the satire might put it, of AI monetization really mean for the future of these tech giants and for their shareholders? How much of a company's value right now in this AI moment is based on solid current financial performance versus how much is built on the exciting but maybe still unproven promise of what AI could deliver down the road?
That's the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it? That tension between current reality and future potential is definitely shaping the whole tech landscape.